Hey there, guys. It's Celine. I may sound slightly more perky than I actually am at the moment. It's Monday, the 30th of September, and I'm coming out because I had a kind of yeah, an epiphany of sorts, about the body and its energy fields and energy workings. There may be smoke. That's because I've got a little stick of frankincense burning here to keep us company, and maybe it'll, help me to do this thing here actually. So, a bit of background to this thing here. I have been a bit under the weather, what with you know, inner metabolism problems that I've been having, and none of which I think is really worth sharing with the internet all that much, because I mean, really, vlogging is fine, but there are limits to the level of what you need to know about my life, I think. Um, However, it's always interesting to me because I'm into energy work and into, meditation, Kundalini yoga, and all that kind of stuff. I have been talking on this channel for the past year and a half about Tummo and how I get on with that. And this is kind of part of that, but in a very different way. So here it is. I'm going to try and do this from my brain straight ahead. If it's not worth watching, you won't see this, then you will see it at some other point later, okay? But maybe it'll be fine. I don't want to be making this into a terribly long tale because I'm still not really super fit, and mainly because I had a couple of bad nights, and I have caught up on that. But I'm, toxins everywhere, and no matter what I do, walking and, drinking hot water and all that kind of stuff, I have really looked after myself very well. But it takes, if you wreck yourself for a couple of days, then there's an X number of days, sort of in proportion to the period that you spent having real issues. There's a period of recuperation that's kind of, not maybe the same type of period, but you cannot expect yourself to get well or completely perky and fine in half a day. Not like this. So not me, not anymore. So hence, but I noticed a couple of things, and I find it so interesting. It's just so bloody like, wait a minute, now I can actually see how this, how this really works. So I've been talking to you about Shakti energy, Kundalini energy, which is the same thing, okay? And how I have experienced so far processing it through the dantians, which are part of Chinese medicine, or originally normally, and which is what happens when you do Tummo, which is how I learned or figured out, cobbled together a method to transform the Shakti energy into Tummo energy, okay? So Tummo energy is Shakti, your own personal Kundalini energy in your body, which I believe has a vibrational nature that actually defines who you are. There's a lot of your real self in your Shakti, if you like, but not all of it. So that's why I'm interested also in the body. What with my body having had a couple of issues recently, especially in the belly and in the digestive system, I realized, I think it was in the middle of the night somewhere, which is where my best ideas happen to me. I realized that actually we think, okay, that our bodies are supported by our skeletal structures. At least that's what I've been told. The whole thing, how the whole thing hinges together, is how we look at it is our bodies are like a downward pressure held up by a skeletal structure. Okay? And that's how we move around. That's how we get our stuff done. It's how you walk. It's because the skeleton bears everything. And that's it. That's how I think. That's how medicine. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I'm going to take this huge rock off, even though it's really pretty and really fabulous to be having. I just have to, it's a bit too much downward pull here, which is exactly to the point of my point here. I've changed my mind. Myself, I no longer believe that we are completely, as people, as bodies, as identities, as persons, that we are completely held up by our skeletal structure alone. I don't think it's true. The skeleton has more, I think, of a function of keeping everything in place, keeping all the relevant parts of us, capable of as many things as possible. It's very dynamic. But there's a whole set of series of different types of dynamism inside this body. Okay? And looking at it from what was happening with my digestive system, I realized that what I need in order to feel well again is I need to feel an upward pressure. But it's not the same as the Shakti / Tummo business at all. I noticed this the first time I hadn't done enough walking last week, which delayed my healing process quite a bit. And after a bit of Googling, I realized that in order to solve my problems, I needed to definitely step up the exercise program. So I immediately went, there's a fly sitting on me. That evening, and that was Friday, I went for a couple of, in the afternoon I walked, and then in the evening again, as much as I could. I was really tired and I had, issues and pain walking, so it wasn't easy. And for the next 2.5 days, counting today even, I have had to, just get my ass out there. It doesn't matter what it is that I do, as long as I stay outdoors, outside the door, for half an hour at a time, at least, And it doesn't matter if I sit on benches and then walk another 100 meters or 200 meters and then sit on another bench, it's fine. But just get the old metabolism back into gear. Makes sense. I think it makes perfect sense. Gosh, I would have been so blessed if I could have told my mother about this, because she never got sense of this anyway. Upward pressure is what I feel when I have done my walk. Okay? If I've walked around for 3/4 of an hour is the ideal sort of a starter point at which you start to really notice a difference. And it doesn't have to do with sport. It doesn't have to do, certainly nothing with, what do you call that? Like weightlifting or improving musculature, any of that. It doesn't even have anything to do with improving oxygenation, heart rhythm, breathing, and all those. So many systems, incredible. It doesn't have anything to do with that. I can, if I just done my 3/4, I sit on a bench and I notice it is like I am sitting in a jacuzzi in a way, except it's not big bubbles, it's just energy inside, everywhere. And that energy, you can feel it if you let yourself. I had a tiny bit of a sort of a meditation exercise thought out, which I hope to share in here as well if I get half a chance. 9.5 minutes. I'm hoping to get this done. Okay, so there is like a what's that called? Like a park in the Netherlands, in here, in this country, somewhere, that's very famous. And I will try and look up a photograph of what it is that I'm going to talk about. In the park, it's quite old. It dates from the 50s, I think. There's all these like fairy tale settings that you can go to. It's a bit like Disneyland, but very low key and old school and simpler, you know? But this kind of there's the smoke passing by of the frankincense. This particular exhibit at the park, it is simply I think a basin of water, and it has a fountain in the middle. Fountain goes up in a single jet of water to about, I don't know, a meter or so high, or maybe a bit more. And then that's how far the water pressure brings the water up, and then it falls to the sides like it does, you know. On top of that, there's a gold-colored ball sitting on top of the water, on top of the bouncing jet of water like that. So I was reminded of that image, of that place, of that thing, by my whole upward pressure kind of a deal. And I noticed for myself this suddenly really immensely important, I don't know how to say. I was going to say concept, but that's just not enough, really. The idea of there being this upward pressure inside our bodies, generated by our bodies, generated originally, I believe, from the Shakti energy in some form or other, where some of your systems certainly in your digestive system and in your lymphatic system, for example, and maybe even in the heart rhythms and in the blood vessels and so on and so forth, they have to do extra work, whereas you would expect, you know, being a total newbie in this whole thing, the gravity would take care of evacuating the things out of you that you no longer need. You see what I mean? So, but because there's this upward pressure, there is a lot of the organs and a lot of the systems in the body, metabolic systems in one form or another, have to exert a certain force to do their job properly. And your life, your physical wellness, is about the interaction between the upward movement and the downward movement. That was my idea. Okay? So coming back to this fountain with the ball, the glass ball or the golden ball on top of the water, what I noticed is if I breathe in, which I can't do while I'm talking at the same time, so like that, and at the same time I visualize or sort of link myself to this upward force, so as if I am just sort of, as if I am the golden ball sitting on top of the force, or hanging even like this in the force, and breathing in, that is that helps my body. It's really pleasant for the body. It feels really good to be doing this. You have to try this out and figure it out and be willing to, you know, mess around with it for a bit and then see whether you can pick up on what it is that I'm trying to say here. I have no idea whether anybody will be able to turn this into their own personal, joy bath of things. But I noticed as I was doing this, as I was doing my breathing thing here, with my hanging into this field of this energy, where the energy that comes up is beneficial and apparently has been around all this time for me to be carried around by it, you know. It's an earth energy in a way, but it's very much inside me. It's not like I can feel the earth energy around me and so on and so forth. That's kind of same, but different, you know, not the same at all. It doesn't feel the same. And as I was fiddling with this, I realized how immensely identified we are with our downward forces always, only. And it's always about controlling our lives, about doing and manifesting. And there's a lot more that could be said, but I haven't done that. I haven't done the thinking for that yet. So I wouldn't be able to tell. But I could sort of feel how I have, certainly in the past, defined myself, defined my life, defined how I thought, how I felt, how I went about things, my priorities, my opinions, and all the rest of it, as a sort of a digging into downwards thing. And about manifesting what I want has always been about digging down my roots or digging my heels into the sand, whichever way you want to put it, instead of letting it happen, which is the opposite, which is what the upward force is trying to make me see here, that in order for me to feel healthy as soon as possible again, without having to eat aspirins 4 times a day, or without all the extracurricular activities that I've been doing to, keep my ass sort of happy, I don't need to be constantly bothered by that type of thing normally. But I was fascinated by the interaction between the upward and the downward force. It sounds like I'm talking nuclear physics, which is probably what I am doing. And I certainly believe that it is because of the Tummo practice that I have learned to see this type of vibration in this way. I am learning to see vibrations that have been there all the time, that were always there, and that I'm sort of separating them out much more now. I would rather identify myself and my opinions and my emotions and all the rest of it a bit more with the upward force and with what it brings, with how, because it makes me feel that much better. And apparently this body was designed to exhibit that part as well. It isn't only ever about control and grip and even mapping things out and planning things. And it's all a downward motion. It's all about pressing down on the things, which is a natural part of us. It's also a natural part of us. That's what I'm trying to say here. There's 2 natural parts in our vibrational physical nature. This is very close to the body, the physical vibrational part. See? It's not really only the organs, because you're looking at it just one step away from each and every individual system. And I'm not, when I'm breathing in like that, I'm not pulling up the energy, because it's always there. It's already there. I'm just letting myself feel it. It's more that than actually pulling it in. But you can imagine pulling it in with your breath for starters. You can do that as long as you like. But at some point, I would suggest try just, breathing it in as it is already doing it for you. Become aware of a part of you that is really purely earth and purely the field that supports you, that has supported you all this time. It's a great, I feel it's a great kind of a vibration to feel. And you feel supported and helped quite a lot. So that was it. That's my 20 minutes worth today. I think I actually managed to do this thanks to the aspirin that I had an hour ago. I will, it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon now, go boil me an egg pretty soon. And then after that, I will have my egg and my sandwich, and I will be off to bed again, because sleep is the best of all remedies. And so I wish you a blissful night's sleep wherever you are. You know, at some time you need one of those. Okay, maybe more than one. Thank you for watching and hanging in there. And you know, we will meet again soon enough. Thank you. Bye bye.